Yo, YouTube, what is good? It's Aeghis. In this video, we're going to be discussing everything that's going on in the 20th anniversary celebration update notes that is releasing today on the October 22nd. So, as you can see here, we have quite a bit for Arcane Mage. Arcane has definitely received, I would say, the most buffs. Let's call them changes. They've received the most changes in this update here. So the first thing we'll notice here is a new talent called Ether Vision. So consuming Nether Precision with Arcane Blast is going to increase the damage of your next barrage by 10% and cause it to generate 2 more arcane charges, and this stacks up to 2 times. So what you can think about this is if we pull up the game here, you'll see here I'm on the PTR, and if I get a clear casting proc, which is going to be generated just through randomly doing damage. So I'll go ahead and get my clear casting by just spending Arcane Blasts. So what this is going to do is whenever you missiles and you get Nether Precision, Arcane Blast damage increased by 20%, you'll consume these and you'll get this buff called Ether Vision. It just makes your barrage do more damage, and it also makes it generate 4 charges. So when you throw it, you'll instantly get full combo points again. So this is kind of nice because it's just a more consistent source, I suppose, of getting combo points. So this is going to make the rotation flow a lot nicer. Nice talent there. Then we have Arcane Debilitate, Time Loop has been updated. Now this one's huge. This one is probably the biggest change here. So we have now also increases the duration of Arcane Debilitation by 2 and its chance to trigger by 25%. So if we look at this talent in the game, you'll see this is what Arcane Debilitation is. Damaging a target with missiles increases the damage that they take from missiles, barrage, and blast by 1%. So this is going to be able to stack pretty high. So I'll go ahead and do a rotation for you guys. So I would recommend getting 1 clear casting proc when you're about to burst, right? So you want to get at least 1 here, I believe. Then you'll use your Evocate to give you another one. Then you'll Surge, and that'll give you the next one. And then whenever you Magi, you can see that this buff is going to stack crazy high. You can see it goes up to about 50 or something. That's going to mean 50% more damage on your blasts and barrages. So that is crazy that the buff is now able to get up that high. So your damage on Arcane Mage is going to be crazy high now. Your rotation is going to be more important. Your missiles are going to be way more important now because it's going to stack up that buff, and then once you amp that buff up, that's when you send the Palm double Arcane Blast into barrage. It's gonna be like a 50% damage increase. So this is kind of the build we're rocking here. Yeah, so this is probably the build up we'll be running on the release. There's a couple new talents, namely the Time Loop one is the major one. The Ether Vision is a nice talent as well. So those are kind of like the only 2 changes that are like the biggest ones, right, to the arcane side of things. But there are a couple things with Spellslinger as well. So a lot of this other stuff we can kind of just skip for now, but I guess like there is a little bit more passive damage on Orb. Now you get like a little bit more Arcane Blast damage. This used to be 3%, I believe it's 5 in PvP. And yeah, the rest is just sort of kind of blubber, we'll say. But this is also huge for Arcane Mage. So Arcane Splinter damage increased by 26%. So Arcane Splinter is going to be the first part of the tree here. Whenever you consume Nether Precision, you conjure 2 splinters. Those splinters are essentially just going to be like icicles from a Frost Mage. It's sort of just like extra damage that shoots at the target, and then they embed themselves doing a little bit of a dot as well. So there's a lot of talent changes regarding these splinters, but that is sort of the idea of what a splinter is. So that damage is increased, and keep in mind you have multiple different ways to actually proc these as well. It's not just from consuming Nether Precision. So Spellfrost teachings chance to proc reduced to 2%. So if we look at what that is, that would be this one here. So essentially direct damage from the splinters has a small chance to launch an orb at 50% effectiveness. So that small chance is now 2%. And that just means that whenever you have, like, let's say a clear casting and you were to send it in, every time you would consume a Nether Precision and it would do those little splinters that it's sending out here, you can see they're actually hitting pretty hard, like 42k a piece, but it sends multiple. So you can see every time I consume a Nether Precision, it sends 4 of them out. They're all hitting. That's like an extra 400k damage almost. Yeah, but every time one of those hits the target, you had a chance to proc an orb. That got reduced a little bit, but to be honest, you have so much orb generation that it's kind of doesn't matter. You definitely don't care too much about losing that. And then you have Splinter Storm has a 5% chance to generate clear casting. So that will be Splinter Storm down here at the bottom, the capstone talent. Whenever you have 8 or more splinters, it automatically casts a Splinter Storm. This will shatter all of the arcane splinters currently in the target and deal their remaining periodic damage instantly. So now this effect has a 5% chance to grant you clear castings as well, which is, you know, more clear castings the better, because the more clear castings you have, the higher you can stack this time loop or arcane debilitation. So definitely a W change there as well. Now we have unerring proficiency damage increase to 20 was 16. So this one is not anything that you care about at all. It increases the supernova damage. This one's completely useless because volatile magic actually got fixed, which will segue us into the next change. So volatile magic now correctly benefits from damage bonuses. So this is actually a bigger buff than it looks like. So if we want to look at what volatile magic actually does, is whenever an embedded splinter is removed, it explodes and deals 7,000 arcane damage to nearby enemies. So what it means by removed is basically whenever your Splinter Storm procs. So if you have 8 splinters on someone, we'll go ahead and stack those up. So you'll see here we're about to get 8. Boom, they're all removed. And then it's going to do a little bit of extra damage to everyone else. And that's going to actually take into consideration your modifiers now as well. So again, more passive damage. So these are all things that are very good for the Arcane Mage. You know, obviously more damage is just insane. Not a massive change, but also not something that's completely irrelevant either. Gravity Lapse cooldown increased to 40 was 30. I believe this is a typo because I think Gravity Lapse is a Sun Fury ability, but it's actually listed under Spellslinger, so I think they might have messed up here like a little bit. But so yeah, Sun Fury not looking great, I think, for Arcane still. I think you're still going to want to play Spellslinger in PvP. Originally, Gravity Lapse was actually going to be a stun, as you guys probably know, but then they removed it and made it a root, and then they said it was going to be a stun again, and then now it's a root again. So a little bit of back and forth going on there, but yeah, so it's still a root. I would say the only notable change here is this one here. Whenever you would have a Glorious Incandescence proc, your next barrage would summon meteorites. They were kind of laggy, like they would appear a second after you throw the barrage, which in PvP people are constantly moving around. Half the times these meteorites would miss, so it's a small DPS increase there. Now we have the massive ones, as we were saying. All of these Arcane is looking crazy. Definitely pick up the spec. I'll be playing it a lot today on my stream, twitch.tv/Aeghis. Now there's a couple more minor changes here. So this is the Arcane Spellslinger Sun Fury changes additional. So Glorious Incandescence has now been updated. Now causes Arcane Barrage to deal 30% increased damage in addition to its previous effects. Yeah, so with Sun Fury, you have the Burden of Power proc. You're going to get that by conjuring a Spellfire Sphere. So that's going to be every 6 barrages or blasts, you'll generate this sphere. And then your next Arcane Blast will deal 20% more damage. This buff has not been changed. This next one is. So after you consume the Burden, you'll get Glorious Incandescence. Your next barrage does 30% more and calls down a storm of 4 meteorites. So you throw that in, does 30% more, calls down the meteorites instantly. Nothing too crazy going on for Sun Fury, just a little bit here and there. And then of course you have the soul extension time. So this, whenever Arcane Surge fades, you would have Arcane Soul, which would just allow you to keep spam barraging and get 4 combo points. A little bit longer now. And then the rest of these are kind of a little bit not notable, except for maybe this one. You get more haste, or to grant 0.5% haste per stack instead of 1. Oh, so that's actually a nerf, I think. Oh no, sorry, it fixed an issue that was causing it to only grant half of it. So slight buff there to your secondary stats. Now Fire Mage. So Fire Mage looks like it has a lot, but I don't think any of these are actually too crazy because a lot of them are Living Bomb oriented, and in PvP Living Bomb does no damage. So Majesty of the Phoenix was this talent where essentially whenever you would Phoenix Flames and it would hit 3 or more targets, it would cause your Flame Strike to do more damage. Now it can stack. So if we look at the talent here, you can see Majesty of the Phoenix. Casting Phoenix Flames no longer has a target requirement or a stacking requirement. It used to be if they hit 3 or more targets. Now it's simply just using Phoenix Flames causes your next Flame Strike to do 20% more damage. So this is more like Flame Strike AoE build kind of thing. Not something we're really playing too much in PvP right now. And then we have all ability damage reduced by 3%. To me, this is really just... I don't fully understand this one because I think Fire Mage is kind of struggling right now in PvP. I think these are PvE oriented changes. Obviously Blizzard changes all of these stuff mainly with PvE in mind. But I also think that Fire Mage is not even the best mage spec in PvE. So to me this seems a little out of left field. Definitely not what you want to see, but they had some really good updates to Fire recently by basically removing Glass Cannon. They took all the damage out and put it into the spec baseline, which was awesome. So we'll just kind of skim through some of these other ones. They're not too crazy. So Lit Fuse can proc more. That just made it to where your Fire Blast would proc a Living Bomb. Again, Living Bomb does no damage, so any Living Bomb talent without a buff to Living Bomb sort of doesn't mean too much right now. Explosive Ingenuity now increases Lit Fuse's chance. Again, we don't really care too much about all these Living Bomb ones. Not too important. The Sparking Cinder one is maybe relevant, worth talking about. So essentially, this ability here, Living Bomb explosions have a chance to increase the damage of your next Pyroblast or Flame Strike by 15%. Again, you know, this isn't bad. Like now you might think like, okay, well, maybe we want to play at least Lit Fuse, like something like this, so that we can potentially get those procs, right? Well, not really, because it's a small chance. So if you look at this article, you'll see it has 3 times per minute. So 3 times per minute, your Pyroblast is going to do 15% more. Not that great. Heat Shimmer can once again trigger while casting Scorch. So this just means if you're casting a Scorch and you get that Heat Shimmer proc, it will be consumed by it. Heat Shimmer is basically just, you know, whenever Ignite does damage, your Scorch has a 5% chance to deal damage as if the target was below 30%. What that means is Scorch does 300% more damage. So that's a nice little touch there. It just means if you cast a Scorch, it's less punishing. There was like some bug with Controlled Destruction, but again, this talent can just be instantly dispelled in PvP, all stacks. So that one's not too notable there. And then the rest of these are just simply UI changes. Then we have some changes to Sun Fury. But again, none of these are super relevant. Burden of Power might be maybe the best one because that's a more Pyroblast damage. But 5% more, not really worth changing out of Frostfire. I think Frostfire is completely just trumps Sun Fury in every single way. Frostfire bolts are hitting crazy hard, especially with the Comet Storm Meteor. And if we scroll down, or sorry, look here at the Frostfire buffs, you'll see that the Comet Storm damage for fire, whenever you call down that meteor, it will also call down a Comet Storm. That's being buffed by 25%. So that's a big buff for fire. The little burst window is going to be higher, which is amazing. And then that's pretty much all for fire. There are some like frost spellslinger things here, but again, these won't really matter too much considering how strong Frostfire is. And that's going to lead us into pretty much the last section here, is the Frostfire section. So basically all you need to know, excess fire used to call down it used to proc a Living Bomb on the target. So that Living Bomb would kind of hit like 250k. And the best part about it on the Frost Mage was that Living Bomb exploding would grant you a flurry charge. And that's all you really liked about it, was my next lance applies a Living Bomb and now I get a flurry. Now it's going to basically do the same thing, but instead of being a Living Bomb, it'll be a Frostfire Burst. So real quick, we'll take a look at what that looks like. So let's go ahead and load up Frost Mage. So you can see, let's put Ice Lance on the bar here. So whenever you get instant stacks of excess fire, excess frost. Whenever you get to these max stacks, so 6 right here, you would get excess fire. Now it generates a Frostfire burst. So let's see what that looks like. We send it on the target there. It's kind of like a little explosion, and that will give you the flurry proc back, which is nice. So kind of a cool, like, I don't want to say lore change, but maybe like visual update. It kind of just matches the vibe of the spec a little bit more, I guess. So yeah, not bad there. And then we have one more change here, and that will be the big one. And that is that the Comet Storm and the Meteor damage is increased on these. So that is a huge like buff, honestly, because Comet Storm is part of your burst rotation. Is definitely like a very solid part of your burst rotation. So again, that is amazing. We like to see, you know, buffs to Frost and Fire Mage. So that's going to be pretty much it for the Mage side of things. There's like a small note down here in the PvP changes, but I don't think it's too notable if I remember correctly. Should be down near the PvP stuff. Yep, down here. And that, yeah, so essentially it's just, it's now a root. So it's almost like a slap in the face. It's like, you know, I'm going to put it in there 2 times now. Just remind you guys it's a root. But, you know, maybe one day we'll get a stun, guys. And we do not count Snowdrift, okay? Snowdrift is deep freeze from Walmart. We do not count that as a stun. And then the last thing here, are we playing Evokers? No. Short answer, I don't think that we are playing Evokers. So essentially they did nerf the Drakthir race quite a bit. Don't get that confused with Evoker. Evoker is the class, Drakthir is the race. So as a Drakthir, you don't get Tail Swipe. That's for Evokers only. You only get Wing Buffet, and it has a 3-minute cooldown. So a racial that has a 3-minute cooldown, And then also they nerfed the movement a little bit on this one for the Drakthir outside of Evokers. So typically, you know, Demon Hunters have double jump. Evokers have jump glide. But this glide actually gives you a movement speed increase. The Drakthir movement speed is, I think someone said like, I don't want to like quote a wrong number here, but someone was saying that like the Evoker one is like a 50% speed increase or some small like 40% or something, and they said being a Drakthir is only like a 20%. So if you're running and you're spamming spacebar as a Drakthir and you're jumping and you hover, it's only going to be a little bit faster than if you are just like a Night Elf or something. So for me personally, I'm staying Night Elf. I think Night Elf is just going to be better. But yeah, if you guys want to play Drakthir, I'm happy they did that change to where it's not like a holy shit, like we have to play Evokers now, or sorry, Drakthir, because they're just, the race is that strong. It's not really the case, I would say, anymore. So that's pretty much all the changes. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Check me out. I'm live probably as you guys are watching this. I'm not sure. I think the servers might come up at some point in time, but yeah, I'll be live for a while today, doing the testing out all the different specs on the 20th anniversary patch. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know if you like videos like this that are kind of more little updates to what's going on in terms of patch notes and stuff like that. So appreciate you guys. Peace out.